Hi everyone, it's Bunnyco. I'm just going to do a short video review of my Arda wig that I have for Sailor Moon. I wore it out recently to Battle and Brew's cosplay night pajama party, and I made Usagi's pajamas, and you can see that she still has her PJ bows in her hair from that, and I got a lot of positive response about the wig in particular. People really like the color on me, and it's no reason that it does look decent on me is because this is actually my natural hair color. When I originally did Princess Serenity, I made the odongos, and I bought tails to match my natural hair color so that I could just use my natural hair for the part and bangs, and it turned out that I had enough hair at the time to make the odongos out of my own hair, and I just wore the tails. And the odongos sat unused for a really long time. But since then, I've cut all my hair off and dyed it blue. I would show you, but I don't have any makeup on, and I don't feel like showing you my face right now. In any case, I can't do her hair with my own natural hair color, but I already had the tails and the odongos, so I just went and bought an Arda chibi. And the reason why I delayed doing this whole process is because their classic chibi is like 23-inch head, and I have a ridiculously small head. And I had bought their genie, which is also for very large-headed people, and even after cutting it down, it just didn't look right and it wouldn't fit right, so I refused to buy the chibi. And I actually split a Greta for a Harley Quinn wig, and I swore never again would I ever sew in a center part. But I was considering it until a friend let me know that Arda finally got in a normal head size chibi wig. So I went and bought that on, I think, their last sale that they had. I got the dark ash blonde, whatever new number code that is. And at this point, they also finally got the long tail, like their clip-in ponytails, in their new Silky, I think it's called Silky, collection. And what the Silky collection is that it doesn't tangle as easily. So even though I already had the tails and the odongos, I went ahead and bought another clip-in in the Silky, which is in Nutmeg, which is the closest to the dark ash blonde that they have. So I ended up spending more money than I thought I was going to, but in the end it worked out really well. I repositioned the pigtails because my number one pet peeve about Sailor Moon wigs is people that simply just stub the pigtails where they are. Usagi's odongos do not stick out of her ears. They're like Mickey Mouse ears. They stick up in the angles. So I pinned the wig to my head, and then I took out the elastic and repositioned the pigtails higher on my head, so I knew approximately where they would be. And I used hair elastics for that. Then I stubbed it, which if you don't know what it is, you can look it up, and I used hot glue to seal them because I am impatient as all get out. Now, I did trim the bangs on the Arda, and you can see the part in there. Let me see if I can't focus. You can see a little bit of the weft right there, but it's not too terribly noticeable at all when you do part it. And I had curled them, and then I tried it on, and I was like, this is not good. This does not look good. So I trimmed it up, and then I recurled it on the mannequin head. And I was like, gee, let's hope this turns out okay. And thankfully it did. It did turn out alright. And I took the long weft off the clip, cut it in half. And then there's tutorials on there where they say you can use the elastic to tie it around. And I did do that, but what I did was it makes like almost like a half circle. And I just folded it over and stitched it. So it made a little sandwich, so there was no netting showing. And then I used the elastic and tied it around a couple times. Like, tied it once, like, wrapped it up, tied it up here, then wrapped it under, tied it in a tighter knot, and then just kind of kept knotting it. And you can see, like, the tails of it are still down there. Then I curled the bottom of the tails with some heat from a curling iron, and I wrapped it around these foam rollers. I tried using my cane here, but it didn't work, but the foam rollers worked really well. And I just wrapped it around, held it on with my hand, and blew on it until it was cool. And the odongos were a little bit of a pain in the butt because even though I double checked to make sure that the stubs would fit, after I had the hair on there, it was really difficult getting them on. I had to trim them down a little bit, and I just, honestly, they're not held on by anything outside of sheer friction. I just shoved them on there because of how tight it was. But you can check out the color between the Nutmeg and the 029. They're like nearly indistinguishable. And what I really, really want to talk about is the new Silky long wefts. And I specifically got these because when I wore my Princess Serenity, they ratted really bad right where they touched the back of my shoulders, like where they're actually always in full contact. And like it's, on the ones I have, they're a full like double the size right here. And like there's no combing it out or anything, and they just kind of look shit, and you just have to deal with it. These had, I don't know where to put them. Oh, here it is. These guys tied in a knot around them as her bows for her sleep bows, and they were tied about like here-ish. And while it did kind of like, pull up a little bit while I was wearing it, when I took them out, it wasn't that bad. I have some photos of it that I'll post in the comments, I guess, of this video. But it didn't rat out all that bad. I mean, you can see it's if you look close, you can see that it's kind of frizzy a little bit around the edges there. But it's really not that bad. I ran a wide tooth comb through it. I mean, you can't obviously get all the way down through it, but like long enough, and it's looking nice. Like I highly, highly recommend them for if you got to do anything like with tails, just go with the Silky because it's going to be amazing. But yeah. That's how it turned out. It turned out pretty good. Looks like I got a little doodad over here I gotta trim up. But, here, let me take off one of the bows so that you can... This one's looser. This one will be easier to come up. Can I do this one-handed without fucking shit up? Maybe? There we go. So what I had to do, you can see it best on this one, is that since I shoved this down, the elastic was still... You could still see the elastic, so I just took a little bit of the long tail and pulled one over front to back and one back to front, and that covered it up pretty good. On this one, which you can't see because the elastic's wedged in there, it actually sat a lot lower. And the problem was because when you tie the tail on, it adds lift in the back, so in the front there's literally nothing there outside of the elastic, so you just have to hide it somehow. And I did use a blonde elastic, but still, you don't want to see that. So that's my review of the Arda wig. I highly recommend them. The small chibi actually fits well on my head. Oh, the other thing that I did was, it comes with one comb in the front and two combs in the back. And I seam ripped out the comb in the front and I put in a clip comb. Like if you get a wig clip, I think Arda actually sells them. And I sewed a wig clip in where the comb was, which is a few wefts back. And I sewed one in right here on the, right above the ear on both sides. Not like in front of the ear, but up high where the temple is. And I just put it on, I hook the back in first, and then I slide in and snap those, and then I add a bobby pin closer to my actual ear on the bottom. Stayed on great. Didn't hurt for wear, at all. It was just like a little annoying by the end of the night, but highly recommend Arda Wigs. You can see the difference between the two colors there, with the Silky and the not Silky, and once again, I highly recommend the Silky if you're doing any sort of long wig, because it didn't rat really all that bad at all, and it's honestly, it's probably just slightly more tangly than it was when I was actually trying to get it on the wig, because I am not I am not good at making wigs. So that's my Arda wig review, and I hope it helps you guys with either making your own Sailor Moon wig or at the very least seeing the difference in the colors. Alright, thanks for listening.